Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Viv.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Bronze.
It is Thursday, the 22nd of May, 2025. Storm in the Teacup, episode 15.
Halfway through the year already. Time flies by sometimes.
Jeez, don't.
Yeah. Like wild horses over the hills, like foxes into the wood, it runs away from us.
Exactly. Just exactly like that. Those were the two images I had in my mind as you were saying.
Yeah.
Not very romantic, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a little bit poetical, but there you go. I'm a part-time, pretty bad poet, but what can you say?
I love the concept that the older we get, time seems to speed up, and this idea that you're faster when you're a child, and that's why it's so slower. We see things faster as a child. But anyway, certainly the 6 months have just flown by.
Yeah, it's all perspective, isn't it? Hey, listen, you're behind both me and Viv in years, so wait for it, mate. It's only going to get faster. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, it flashes by. And time is the relative, exactly. What I'm trying to say is that before the Industrial Revolution, when clocks were introduced, people never really bothered about the time. The sun rose, they got up, they went to work. Sun sets, they go home, they eat tea, they put the candles up. But now we've got artificial time, we've got night shifts and all this craziness, and they've coded time. They've made time measurable. But the flow of the seasons, it's got a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like dogs, I often look at. I've never had a dog or a cat, but people that have dogs and cats, their dogs and cats don't own watches or don't have a concept of time, and yet they seem to know. Like they'll always go outside at the same time, and they'll always know they'll come in for food at a particular time. Meaning, and we as humans must have used to have it, that you have a natural concept of the day where the moon is in the sky without knowledge, without actual waking knowledge of it. We have a knowledge of it because we do things at particular times. I've often said people that have nightmares often wake up at 3 a.m. There's no watch to get you up at 3 a.m. But most people will say, oh yeah, I was up at 3 o'clock or 10 to 3 or 10 minutes after 3. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. That 3 o'clock thing is very true. Yeah.
I think it does say something about how we have a natural connection to nature, the natural cycle of things, and when we're kind of more connected to it, we tend to just run on that or run off of that, like you say, like maybe animals do. But now we're kind of more focused on this regimented artificial time, as you very well put it, Viv. And that kind of takes us away from it. I mean, I've said before, sometimes if I need to wake up in the morning at a certain time, if I need to wake up early to go and do something, I go to bed the night before and I lie there for maybe 5 minutes before I go to sleep, and I drill it into my brain. I must wake up at 6 o'clock. I must wake up at 6 o'clock. And I do it over and over and over again. Even without an alarm clock, I will wake up at 6 o'clock. It's uncanny.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah. Exactly. Try this experiment, which I did for years. I took off my wristwatch and my body adjusted, or my brain, whatever it is that controls these things, the rhythm, it adjusted. And I could tell the time pretty well, not obviously to the minute, but yeah, it's not bad. I'd say, it's about 4:30. Yeah, it was pretty much, Well,
before they invented clocks, did we have a concept of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? I mean, it was obviously like, well, the sun is at a certain point in the sky. It's right above us, so that's midday.
Sundials were used right back in farming days. So there was a concept of, and that would have had 1 to 12. So yeah, there was a concept of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention sundials, and I also mentioned. Have you noticed that time is different depending on the circumstance. For example, there's British Rail time. The train will be arriving in 5 minutes, and you're thinking, this is not 5 minutes. You're waiting. You think, this can't be 5 minutes. It's like a watch pot never boils.
That's correct. Yeah, it is. It's all down to your perception. It's like when you're having a really good time and enjoying something or really engrossed in something, the time just flies. When you're bored, and you want time to pass, like when you're at school and you're sitting in a lesson and you just look at the clock, how long till dinner? How long till I get out of this lesson? It just drags and it seems so much slower.
Yeah, so, it's so true, so true. So today, I mean, at my workplace, they put my lunches back to 12, so I've got 12 to 1 now. I just find that the afternoon drags so much. It doesn't seem natural. I'm used to 1 o'clock for lunch, and now the time drags, and but there you go.
Yeah, working for the man. That's what happens when you work for the man.
Working for the man. I have got a collection of corporate mugs for a corporate mug.
So shall we get on to a serious topic?
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? There's been so many.
Well, I think one that's burning us all up at the moment is our dear leader, our wonderful dear leader.
Yeah, the Sturmer. Yeah, the Sturmer. Did you know the Sturmer was the Nazi magazine?
Oh, was it?
The Stormer. The Sturmer. The Starmer.
The Sturmer.
Yeah, it was the NSDAP magazine. No, was it? But anyway, it was a Nazi magazine. Right. Okay, have you seen the pictures of the 3? There are now 3 arrested suspects in the arson attacks on Sir Keir's properties and car. Or associated.
Very strange, isn't it? Yeah.
I have seen 2 pictures and one artist's rendition of the third, because apparently there wasn't a picture available.
I've got the pictures. I've got them. I'll post them up. I'll post them up later. They are models. They are models. Yes. They're 1980s pop stars. These are handsome young men. I'm not casting aspersions. I don't care. But they also look gay.
Yeah, that was one speculation that was going round. And a very interesting point to add to that is these properties. How did they get the addresses? Because some of them go back to the 80s. Had links to these properties. So where did they get them from? How did they know about them?
Well, and worse than that, it was the 3 fires were 2 properties and a car. Now, the car isn't even his actual car at the moment. It's a car that he previously owned, which now that is a warning, because for me to know your car, Bronze, before your car that you own now, I'd have to be quite close to you to know that you'd owned a particular car. And it would only be to really send a message to you, surely. Or why would he even know that his ex car got burnt?
Yeah. It's
DVLA.
Well,
no, but if I burnt, let's say Bronze had a car and he sold it to my neighbour and I burnt the car, no one would contact Bronze to let him know his car had burnt. But this was in the news. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously part of the the 2 properties were attacked and the car was attacked at the same time. So obviously the police or whoever were looking into it made that link, and it got put out in the press. I mean, that's another thing, that it got put out in the press. So they wanted that information to be out there. But it's either these 3 guys. Did they know each other? I mean, they're all. I think one of them was Romanian but born in Ukraine. Another guy, I can't remember where the other 2, but they're all kind of like Eastern European origins, I believe.
They're all Ukrainian.
I was going to say, I was under the impression they were all Ukrainian. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so they must have, if they did this off their own backs, were they working together? Presumably so. If they did it off their own backs, they would have had to trace that car, which they would have known from when they were maybe associated with Starmer back back whenever it was, or they were given the information. They were working for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't really think of any reason why any Ukrainian would have a problem with Starmer. I really can't think of any reason.
Well,
yeah,
it may not be political. It may be personal. You know, it may have nothing to do with what's going on in Ukraine.
Have you heard of the word compromise?
Yep.
Yeah, and didn't famously, or again, I don't know if this is fact or not, so I'm just throwing it out there, but I believe the Russians famously used Ukrainians as deep cover spies. Am I right?
For whom? For whom? For whom?
For themselves.
Yeah. Against who?
Anyone they needed to send messages to, I guess.
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Against perceived enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, again, I think with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, there would be Russians and Ukrainians that would be very unhappy with what our government have done. There's both sides of the apple in both countries. So I don't think it's too far to speculate that it could possibly have something, nothing to do with them being gay, nothing to do with them being rent boys. It could just be someone who's really peed off with aid that was given, for instance, or something like that. But there's a lot to that story, isn't there?
There's a hell of a lot.
Yes, there's a lot of missing pieces. It's a mystery. It's a mystery, as Toya once sang.
Why? I mean, isn't this sub judice? In other words, under constraint, because they have been arrested. Don't know if they've been charged yet. But surely this goes under sub judice when they say, "Oh, we can't release the details. Oh, it's before the court case." But yeah, hang on. I mean, something doesn't add up. Something really doesn't add up with all this. Something is wrong, very wrong, I think.
Well,
as Bron said, they wanted us to see that, and I'd even go as far as to say they wanted Keir Starmer to see that, because as I tempted just now, if I blow up someone's car or do something to someone's car that they don't own anymore, there's no reason you'd ever find out that had happened unless someone tells you, and then the whole news told him. I just find that, as I always say, anything in the news, they want you to hear that. So they want it? Are the white hats? They've done their bit with Biden. Are they now doing their bit with Starmer?
Well, as far as the sub judice point that you mentioned, Viv, I think that is a load of old bollocks these days, because they always use that as an excuse to try and stop commentators talking about cases in progress. But it's all over social media anyway, so it's kind of a moot point, that one. But the thing about them kind of put this information getting out there. I mean, 4D, you just proposed it may be a white hat thing. It also may be because most of the British media is just a mouthpiece for the state now. It's a propaganda mouthpiece. So it may have been put out there deliberately to try and to create a distraction from something else, i.e., the betrayal of this country by what Starmer has just done with the EU, to try and take some heat away from that, maybe, and maybe
possibly
try and garner a bit of sympathy for him. I can't see how that might work, but that's a possibility in my mind as well.
Yeah, you may have to cut this out.
I'll definitely cut that out, but say that say that again in a less obvious way. It's worth saying.
Go on, Viv. Use your words. Use your words.
All right. Okay. Is it under consideration that there were perhaps something we don't quite know, some form of relationship between the three gents who appear to have launched a coordinated attack on Mr. Starmer? These young men, very handsome young men indeed, model-looking young men.
Yeah, I do think that's a fair question, because it's as fair as the political thing we just threw out there. Is, you've got to ask those questions. These are, as you say, attractive, young. What can you say to that? Yes.
Well, this does tie in quite neatly with these. Apparently, it's an open secret amongst those in Westminster and those circles that there is something that has not been disclosed about Starmer's personal life. It's been spoken about, but not specifically disclosed. So
yeah, I think we spoke about this before we started recording these, because I remember some time ago that there was something floating about. Now, I think it was something to do with Mr. Ali, and there was possible
liaisons, shall we say?
Well, no, I like Viv. I'm trying to choose my words rightly, but we should stop. We should try to say our words, because it's not right that we're not allowed to speak freely. But that Mr. Ali was homosexual. So, and then at the time, I think people said no. Everyone knows Starmer's heterosexual, and actually, the rumors are that I would say, from what I gathered from the kind of rumors I'd read online, was that he had an extra marital woman, being the woman that was over at Christmas for voice therapy or whatever it was. But
a woman.
Well, there's also the story about his estrangement with his wife as well. There's nothing concrete which has been kind of clarified about that. But when he went to the Pope's funeral, she didn't go with him, or she wasn't going to go with him. And then I think, did she end up going? I'm not sure. But
and it's funny because the mainstream media were all over Boris and his perceived problems with his relationship, but they're all keeping quiet on. You can see in the pictures she looks absolutely sad and drained, as if she's been forced to be there.
Well, they're doing exactly.
But
they're doing exactly. It appears what happened with Biden in the USA. The media are covering for him. They are covering up for him. They're not.
I think we need to get into the Biden thing later.
There's more to be said about our dear leader, I think, at the moment.
There is indeed. I posted a note on my Substack, The Drift. I'll read it out. The three arrested over the fires of properties in a car linked to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer are an odd bunch. They resemble 1980s pop stars or models rather than the expected far-right hooligans. I wonder about Boris Johnson's comment calling Starmer the orange ball chewing manacled gimp of Brussels.
Oh, good point.
I hold that compromat is a little-known political manoeuvre. I consider the generosity of Lord Ali in allowing Starmer and his son access to his penthouse suite. I note the apparent disinterest of the controlled media in digging deeper rather than presenting basic boilerplate reportage. And I do realise this is, or could be to an extent, sub judice. But there is something we're not being told about here.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, a couple of interesting points there, actually. Yes, yeah. In fact, he's having a really rough week, because is it today that someone has stopped the Chagos Islands deal?
Yes, there was an appeal by a Chagos Islander, actually, and the courts have put a temporary halt on it. It was meant to be signed today. But
I was going to say they saved it to the last day. This is all definitely, not looking good for him.
There's also talk about Angela Rayner, the deputy PM, making a move for number 10 as well, about throwing him under the bus. Obviously, this whole thing with Lucy Connolly is just blown up now. Sheer, just horrific horrific, just ridiculousness of it. The poor
Yeah.
woman. And also his Brexit betrayal, which is an act of a traitor, in my opinion. Regardless of whether you're for Brexit or against it. I mean, that was 9 years ago, and what he has done now has just made things worse. No doubt about it. And interestingly enough, everyone's talking about the fishermen. This is the end of the UK fishing industry, blah 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 blah. But there was more aspects to that which are probably, arguably more important in terms of he's effectively given away our military to a foreign power, the EU.
Yeah.
And also all of our intelligence gathering. He's done the same thing.
Oh,
He's effectively
Syria.
given away. He's given it all away to a foreign power, the EU, and the EU is a foreign power, whichever way you look at it.
Indeed, of course. Seriously, about the I didn't know that about the last thing you mentioned about the security.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm.
So and the really the tough thing about this is that even if we manage to last through to the next election and Labour are removed and another party installed, it's going to be very difficult to reverse this, because it's not just like somebody else can move into number 10 and say, right, okay, I'm going to cancel that. They can't do that, because it's all about the civil service. Because the civil service doesn't change. You get a new prime minister, a new political party, the civil service is always the same. And the civil service are on board with this.
Yes.
And we've seen what they can do with Liz Truss. Liz Truss came in and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it wasn't just the civil service, but they all got together and said, no, you're not, you're out of here. And she didn't. She lasted 30 days. So this is not something that can be reversed easily, because the civil service will just say, nope, not doing that, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, but I think everyone said that about Trump with but look what he did with Doge and how he's getting rid of that red tape now. I hear rumors that they're already starting to think about a similar idea over here. So
there's a difference, Woody. There's a difference there, though. The American system doesn't work. When they have a new administration, their equivalent of the civil service is part of that new administration. They bring in all their own people, and the old lot go. Whereas in this country, that doesn't happen. Civil service always stays the same. It's not.
It's a continuity government. It could be what you could describe as the deep state, but the civil service, the Home Office, etc., is the continuity government. You don't need the government when you've got a civil service as powerful as that. The government could go, and the civil service would just run the country, exactly. and then extent they do, really.
Well, and that's why we have a uni party. I mean, again, all three of us talk about this all the time. It's we understand that we are controlled by the bureaucrats or ruled by the bureaucrats, and in fact, we're unfortunately in Great Britain, we're that dumb. They didn't even need to hide themselves. The deep state called themselves out. They told us who they were. They were these civil servants, as Bron said. We all know they stay in the job, I suppose, but. I suppose my flippant comment was that we don't know how the cogs turn realistically anyway, but I'm sure there's a way. Because if there's not a way to stop this, what's the point in us even talking about this? We're doomed. Our country is. It's absolutely. Someone would. It really annoys me when people say, what is it to be English? There's no such thing. There's no culture. I think it was Good Morning Britain. They the idiots on there were saying, Keir Starmer said we're turning into an island of strangers. I don't feel like a stranger.
That was Susanna Reid. She's an idiot.
Cheers, Susanna Reid. And she was saying, and it's these kinds of people that they argue on their little talk shows when someone like us is on there and they say, they're taking away the English culture. And they come back with, what do you mean English culture? And they try to turn them into a racist. And it's these things we're talking about that are English culture. It's everything about we were the ones that bought the world freedom of speech. And we are now the ones that have no freedom of speech. We were the ones that stopped slavery. We are now the ones all enslaved. Everything that is great about England, the culture, what it is to be English, has been completely thrown on its arse. You know, we were the ones who had the speaker's corner before free speech was a concept. You know, we've been the leaders of the world. We brought the Industrial Revolution, and yet everything has been bastardized and twisted on its head and thrown out. And sorry, I've gone off on one, but that's what's English. But go on, yeah.
Passionate run. I do think, though, with free speech, the Frenchies helped as well with the French Revolution, which was a bit of nastiness, but at least you had people like Voltaire and various other thinkers and people who did put free speech to the forefront. If we don't have free speech, we don't have anything.
Well, I would say that although when I said it's going to be this Brexit thing that Starmer's done is going to be very difficult to roll back. I wouldn't say it's impossible. I wouldn't say it's we're done for. That's it. We're finished. Might as well forget it. There's always ways. There's always something that can pop up. Just that can blindside you, and all of a sudden everything can change. It's not. I don't think we're in a hopeless situation. It's just gotten very bad. You might actually say we're a step closer to the precipice, the quote unquote precipice, and people are waking up. People are, people really are starting to become aware of what's going on. And in terms of people like Susanna Reid and all of these mainstream just plastic lollipops on daytime TV, all of those people are just all of those the mainstream TV is dying. Okay.
Oh yeah.
ITV as well. I don't know if you heard about ITV. There's a massive civil war going on in ITV as well, and they are it is failing. It is crumbling. They're losing viewers. People are going online. They're looking for their information elsewhere. And it is happening. It's a slow, gradual process, and it is happening.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry, and like when you put water on, it takes a while to come to oil, doesn't it? When you put a fire underneath it.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean before you joined us when we were just chatting offline, me and 4D, he was telling me a story about someone that he's been chatting to for quite a few years, who has kind of sort of changed around their opinion, and they've become and to me that's really symbolic of what you're telling me about this person, 4D. Someone who at the beginning was really just not really kind of taking on board anything that you were saying, but now is actually really starting to catch on to what's going on. And it's like that's just one person. Imagine, I'm sure that's not the only person that's happening to,
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's going to be difficult, and also we were talking about time earlier. It's the fact that we're old enough to know it's going to take a long, long time, and I think I get frustrated. I get down a lot because even though I believe in Q, and as I've said, I'm the one who really thinks that that's all real, and it's going to be a massive thing when it's all over. I still know the reality that we're a good 20 years off of this sort of having an effect and a positive effect on our youth and getting back to some form of normality. And it's a horrible concept to know that you sort of fight this armchair fight for me since 2017, since the whole Q thing, and it's such a long process.
Well, it's not an armchair fight for me, and no. I mean, I'm getting involved as you know with Sovereign Project, with Common Law, just taking back our freedoms and doing it slowly but surely. And I'm involved with, as you know, with people at the stand when you met them. We're still all there. We're there. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't mean to belittle any of us as
no. I know you're not. I know you're not.
I think the positive aspect of what you said, 4D, is like it is it is quite soul destroying. But you're saying, oh, it's going to take 20 years. First of all, it may not take 20 years. A snowball gathers speed, or a rock gathers speed as it goes downhill. It gets faster and faster. So it may not take that long. But even so, even if you say, well, it is going to take 20 years, you're still acknowledging it's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
true.
And
True.
so you're kind of talking from a person, we all want to see it happen. We all want to say, yeah, we want to be there and we want to see it and we want to live it and experience it and enjoy it. That may or may not happen. But the fact that it will happen is the important thing. And we all believe that it will happen, I think.
And please, I want to say something very important. Just keep your PMA. Raise your PMA. PMA is the thing. What is PMA?
Positive mental attitude. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad, Viv, I'm glad you brought up the Sovereign Project, because I actually wanted to bring that up as well. And I have actually signed up to the Sovereign Project. I've created an account.
Oh,
and I haven't paid my 68 quid yet for the first course, but I intend to. And it's kind of galvanized me this last week, things that have been going on. It's just right. We've got to do it for ourselves. There's nobody coming to save us. People are still looking to Farage and reform. It's like, forget it. They're not gonna help us. We've got to do it for ourselves. And that is the way to go. So I'll tell you what, I will be picking your brain on the way forward with that, because I'm not entirely sure of where to start or where to go. So yes.
You're going to be in front of me soon, because I've just been so I wouldn't say, all right, I'll say it. I've been a lazy bastard, really, with the whole thing. Others in the group, the chess club, where they've moved a lot more forward. I mean, Izzy's just come out with this amazing thing about your signature. You've got to change your signature. You've got to change your name. You've got to move out of the system, their slave system. Izzy's just got this thing that you sign your name. What you do is you sign your name in a certain way. Okay. Yeah. I'll give you that certain way in a minute if you want.
Yes,
your signature always has to be this. I'll go and get it. Actually, I'll go and get it because it's really interesting. Yeah, but I won't go yet. But yeah,
just before you do that, Viv, I just wanted to ask you, what was the very first thing you did? Because I'm looking at it, and they're saying there's this introductory course, the first course, and you pay you pay your 68 quid, and it's and you get it. You can do it online. Is that what you did? Is that what you did?
What we do is, in the chess club, and there's loads of chess clubs around the country, around the world.
I'm not with the chess club.
No. I'm saying what we do at the chess club. Every chess club starts with a basic introduction. All right. Everything has the basic introduction, and it has to go right in. And you have to understand that and internalize that. So every one of those downloads that you've got, you start with the introduction. He always gives the introduction. Just go over and over and over again the introduction. It says things like that you are a free person, you are born free, etc. It gives you the basic ideas about becoming a sovereign individual.
So this is literature that you get to download after you pay.
No. It's the downloads that you listen to.
Right. So okay. So it's the kind of video lessons, if you like.
They're audio.
Right.
These audio things, there's loads of them.
Right. Okay.
And each one will be, for example, how to talk with the police, how to, sign contracts and not sign contracts, what to do if you have to sign a contract. Remember that when you sign any contract, you're entering into the so-called joinder. You're entering into their contract, and they're going to gamble on your name on the bond markets, and they're going to put their money in the Jersey accounts, which I've talked about in the past, and which you can access, right? Because it's your money, because they've gambled on your name as a bondsman, as a person who is essentially a slave to the system. We have to get out of that system, and we have to really understand how to do this. And it's complicated, and I haven't got there yet. Okay, but
So
I would
you
advise
basically-
I would advise just listening over and over again to the downloads. Okay,
Right.
especially the introductions, and getting it right in your head that's sorted. That the common law, everything about all this, is essentially a parallel system. Okay,
Yes.
to get out of their system.
So
Yeah,
at your
so not-
chess group, you basically have a group. So basically, you all talk about that week's lesson. Basically, it's a group teaching. Is that what it is you're doing?
Yeah, it's monthly. It's led by people more experienced than the rest. It's garnering members. There's not many people. I mean, there's 10. You met them all anyway.
So you kind of all signed up to it. You all read it in your own time, and then you meet up to get deeper into it, sort of thing.
Discuss, and suggest. And we're on to affidavits. We're getting, some of the group have got really far on affidavits. You do the affidavit. It's complicated, but you put the affidavit. An affidavit is your word. Your word is everything. It means absolutely everything. If you give your word, if you're an honourable, honest person, and you give your word, you do not break your word. Okay, an affidavit is your word put into formal language, and then lodged with the courts, with the police, with the government, with the council, with everything, with the Vatican. Okay, and you lodge these, and when they see this, when they look at, you've got 28 days. If they send it back, they won't send it back because they know nothing about this. They don't understand. They only understand their system. So if it doesn't come back, the affidavit is there, and you then bring up the affidavit. You say, but I've lodged this. I'm not part of your system. I'm sorry. My name isn't blah, blah, blah. My name is something else. My name is, if your name is John Smith, John Edward Smith. My name is John Edward of the bloodline Smith, right?
Yeah. Well, and Prince was the first one to teach us the concept that your name and getting out of the system when he went to court with Sony, or Sony took him to court to steal the rights to his music. He then dumped the name Prince and became, everyone took the mickey out of him because he'd become that squiggle. But the point of that was from a different point of view, but exactly what you're saying. He came out of the system, and they couldn't take his music as a squiggle because, or a mark on a piece of paper, because it had no. It had no name to it, and
it had no legal. Yes,
exactly.
No legal weight.
Yeah.
But,
That's when I changed my name to Fordy, and everyone now knows me as. I was just going to add this because, that's when I changed my name to Fordy, and most people don't know my real name, and that's how I like to keep it, because if something bad does happen to me, I can, when they address me as the name that I was just about to say it then, I am not, I can prove that I am not that person, because most people will say, oh, no, I know him as Fordy. And that's the same as the squiggle. It's a number and a capital letter.
Yeah. You've got to do that legally. It doesn't cost much. Go to a notary. It only costs about 10. We've found a notary who'll do this. All right, but there's two sorts of notaries. You have to know the right one, the right type. Just change. Yeah. You can change your name, okay? Because your surname is always used. Your surname is your slave name that you're owned by the state at birth with your birth certificate. Right? They own you. That's how it works. One of the many ways it works. We have to get out of the slave system.
Last time I was nicked, they'd said, "What is your name?" And I'd said 4D, and they said, "No, that's not your name." And I said, "Yeah, it is my name." But at one point they said, I think they got where I was going, perhaps, and so they'd said, right, what was the name that was given to you at birth? And I said, oh, right, the name that was given to me, and I said that name. Because again, if they're asking you the name that was given to you at birth and you answered with that name, that's not you saying that that's your name. That's saying, the truth is that's what the name that's my slave name. That's roughly what I said to them is, that's my slave name. But I'm still not answering to that name.
Yeah, but these people are into legal formalities. Their law, not our law. It's legal.
Yeah, that's why I need to do what you're doing. Yeah,
it's legislation, not our law. Our law is natural law. We don't kill, we don't steal. You know, all that sort of thing.
On the Sovereign Project website, there's an introductory video where he talks about this and the difference between law and legal. He said, what is if something is lawful and if something is legal, they're two different things. Lawful is what you just said. It's very basic. It's like common law. There has to be a victim for something to be unlawful. But if something is illegal, this is the corporate fiction that they've built up.
Yes, perfect. I'm just popping out. I'll get my notebook and I'll read a couple of things.
Don't forget your potato peeler, Viv.
Oi.
Yeah, go for it. Go.
It's funny because you'd think it was the other way around, actually, but yeah, that's odd. Again, I kind of. It wasn't because I was awake to any of this. I looked into it just because of the Prince thing. I was really into Prince, and I when you're into someone, you don't think they're stupid. When you're told they're stupid, you think no, I like them. They can't be stupid, and so that's why I looked in, because it did seem weird that he changed his name, and I thought, is it drugs and what? But when you looked into it, it made perfect sense, and it was actually, I think it was the cleverest thing he did, because they couldn't take anything off of him.
Yeah, well, he started off by going to the artist formerly known as Prince, didn't he?
That's right.
He adopted that first, and then he just went to that symbol, and everyone just called him Symbol.
And again, I suppose that's the yes, that was my slave name, so it's formerly known as Prince. Yes, it makes kind of sense. It's
yeah. And then he died.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yes, exactly.
Supposedly, from all accounts, quite a clean living guy. But I don't know if that's true or not. But that was the perception of him, that he wasn't into drugs or anything. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
No, that's right. Yeah. So there's again, over the years we've spoken about so many famous people that have had strange demises. The most recent one for me is the comedian whose name escapes me, who said something about Obama's wife.
Joan Rivers. Joan
Rivers, that's it. Cheers. But yeah, and yes, lawfare. I was going to be devil's advocate. That's what I was going to say. Is the only thing that frightens me about the Sovereign Project is thinking about Americans with their sovereign citizen. Now, it's the same sort of thing, but they are being taught something that's not right, and most of them are getting themselves into more trouble. So when Viv gets back, I want him to I want to throw that question at him so that he can throw one back at me as to why that's not.
I would say quite possibly the only similarity is the name. Don't forget, they've got a completely different system in the US than we have here.
Yeah, I suppose it just worries me that the name is the same, and is it the same? Why did that start in America, sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm back. I think that is different. Although America there is a common law there as well. There certainly is in Australia. Australians have sort of brought in the affidavit, the idea of the affidavit, and it's spread from there. But Americans do have common law, for sure.
Well, they're ruled by the Crown, aren't they? So they're essentially got the same rulers that we have, being part of the Commonwealth. I presume
America isn't Commonwealth, though.
Not America.
No, Australia. Sorry, yeah. Of course, you're right. I know. Yeah. Oh God, is he? Sorry, this person. I'm one of the people in the group. Huh. God, amazing. Comes up with this. Basically, this thing you do. This is how when you're signing a document, this is how not to contract, not to enter into contract. It's very important to avoid contract with any agent of the state or even the corporations. So what you do is you write your name, your first name, and then you write 1-301 without prejudice. Now, this may seem nothing. They'll look at this and think, oh, what does that mean? When a lawyer sees that, they'll go, oh, shit. He's outside these people are outside the system. When you sign that as your signature. Yep.
1-301 without prejudice. So what does that signify?
Yeah, your name sort of, I don't know, Nigel 1-308 without prejudice. It signifies apparently that it's a legalistic term, which is very hard to find. That you are removed from the system. You're not using your surname. Your surname is your slave name that they use, so you don't use that.
So
we're investigating this. This is early days. I can't go any further because I don't really know. But I do know that the person who's been doing this is one of the absolute he's really at the forefront of this. I mean, for example, he's managed to change his passport to remove his second name from his passport. I've seen the passport. He's done it. I don't know how he did it. It's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I only put this forward as a point of how complicated this is. I mean, basically, registering something means giving it away. So you don't want to register your name, do you? Sovereign is a status. Lawful is not legal. You stay in your private distinction, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when you sign things with your name, you're effectively contracting, aren't you?
Yes.
That's what it amounts to. But this guy who had his surname removed from his passport. So what does the name look like? Is it just his first name now on his passport?
It's his first name. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And
wow.
I believe he uses his second name as his surname, which I would recommend to everyone.
You mean his middle name? He's got a middle name.
His middle name. Yeah. He's of African origin. So he's got he's UK, you know, he's British, but he's of African origin.
Strangely enough, my middle name is actually not a first name; it's a surname. My middle name. Strangely enough, I don't know what my parents were thinking. Maybe they wanted me to have a double-barreled name to be posh or something. I don't know.
That is really good. That's what your middle name. Oh,
my middle name is not first name; it's a surname.
Oh, interesting. You have to look into that. You've got to look into that.
So, like,
middle. Oh, sorry.
So if, for example, someone was called Peter Jones Faulkner, if Jones was their middle name, it's not like Jones is. It's their middle name, but it's not a traditional first name. It's more of a traditional surname.
Yeah, I mean, a first step is to remove your surname, which is what they use.
Yeah. That's good.
You know, I mean, but just go through the Sovereign Project. I think, you know, the audio, the downloads, and I mean, you know, never ask permission. They're bluffing. Governments, corporations are bluffing you. Government is a legal fiction. You know, it's a legal fiction, and our oath, is the highest, because that's our truth. And that's the affidavit. I recommend peoplescourt.co.uk. That has an affidavit template. It's got a template you can fill in, and it gives everything in there that you might need to make an affidavit to get out of this bloody slave system.
And I was just going to quickly say that's another thing about what it means to be English. Is it's a very English thing. I believe it's an English thing anyway. It's this whole middle name being the first name of a family member from before.
Yeah.
So that you carry on your father's name or your great grandfather's name. It doesn't have to be. You can miss a generation, but the English kind of thing was that the boy's middle name would be one of the men in the previous bloodline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, man, mate, this is so complicated. You got to get into UCCI, which is Universal Commercial Code. It's American. You need to do the deed of name change. Do not ever accept titles, honorifics, or anything of that nature, such as Mister. You know, call your mate's brother and sister, but don't call them Mister and Mrs. Oh, you have to get your own flag. You have to get a bloodline flag. You have to get a soul name. You have to look at Bills of Exchange Act 1822. Any medium used to pay a debt, if not returned in 28 days, is considered paid.
Hmm. If you do you know, Viv, if you legally change your name, as in this country we have by default, you can go and actually change your surname to something else.
Don't bother.
That doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
bother.
it's the
Don't
same
bother.
system. Yeah, it's the same system.
It's the same system. Go to a notary and get the change of name. It doesn't cost much.
Oh,
See, now this is where I disagree with Viv, because and again, I don't know, I'm not trying to say that I'm right by any stretch of the imagination, but in my way of looking at it, I've changed my name and people that know me by the other name. So in my humble opinion, I'm completely out of the system, because I haven't signed any paperwork. I haven't had to do anything. This is how people know me. So I look at it from a more naturalistic point of view, that I am, so I am.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it, but they don't see it that way.
No, right. I see. Yeah.
I mean, I think we all know our given names, don't we? So, but we never call each other. I mean, me and 4D, we just know each other as 4D and Bronze.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know, and I don't care to know, to be fair. That's a great thing. I know you as those two names. That's right. Yeah,
perfect. Because you are the new person. You've got rid of your slave name, your surname, which is on your birth certificate, and that is what they're using.
Yeah, to me, you are the entity Viv, and you are the entity Bronze. How you present yourself to me is I'd rather that than so it makes perfect sense to me anyway. Yeah.
I mean, basically, common law is all well and good, but it is also corrupted, of course. And the law should come from you as a sovereign individual, as a freeborn, a living man or woman, not a straw man. That your surname is a straw fiction. Okay.
Yeah.
And Lucy this leads me on to hopefully to talk about Lucy Connolly, because I was going to say, I think we're being taught this slowly again, because a lot of the Tommy take Tommy Robinson out of it, actually. Lucy Connolly and a lot of the people that have been arrested recently, when I'm watching GB News or Talk TV or the ones online that I kind of watch to see what's going on, they all say, the problem was they were forced to say they were guilty. They shouldn't have said they were guilty. So we're kind of, they're trying to tell us these things offhandedly.
Yeah.
Because
never say you're guilty, mate.
No, that's it. Never ever admit to something. It's that, even as I said, on a bad point of view, even if you have done something wrong, it's their job to find that out. You're quite silly if you just go, yep, you got me.
That's right. And these are corrupt, bad actors who are telling people, it'd be better if you plead guilty. Bollocks, it will. Stay true to yourself. Stay true. You're a free man. We are free men and women.
I do wonder how far they can push you. I don't take anything away from these people that said, yeah, I'm guilty, because even me in that situation, they can make you feel like you have to do it, or it's going to be worse. And it's unfortunate that these people were turned, but I'm not going to say that they were silly for doing that. They're very persuasive.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's fear. It's fear and intimidation. That's what you're using. But what I will say is, anybody interested in the Sovereign Project is, if you go to the sovereignproject.live, there's it's just a 20-minute introductory video called Mindset P1 Part 1, and it's entitled How Do I Become Sovereign? It's worth checking out. It outlines a lot of the framework of this. It's quite informative.
Yeah, I'm going to post that up later or maybe tomorrow. Yeah, I'll post that up on Substack. Yeah.
Another one to quickly mention while we're on that subject is the Free Speech Union. I think that's a good idea in the current climate for anyone who dices on the edge of what could be perceived as wrong. I think they could be a handy people to know.
To a point. I think it's a limited hangout, but yes, on the surface they can be helpful.
What do you mean by that? Out of interest?
Toby Young's an establishment cuck. He's the one who runs it, and
Right.
yes, they stand up for free speech, but I think that there's still certain lines they won't cross when it comes to free speech issues.
Okay. Cheers. Yeah.
I mean, I always remember Noam Chomsky before he went all sort of a bit really authoritarian. He talked a lot of sense about free speech. He'd say that even if someone's got a gun on you, you still allow them to talk.
Yeah.
Allow who to talk? The person with the gun or the person?
Well, both really, but the person with the gun, because they've not essentially they haven't fired the gun. I mean, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It doesn't exactly mean that, because you're not gonna do that if someone's got a gun pointed at you.
Well, if someone's got a gun,
you're not saying. I say, old chap, why don't you put that down for a bit and let's go and have a beer. Nah.
All right, yeah. So you're talking about the person having the gun pointed at them, because I was going to say, if it's a person holding the gun, they can say whatever the hell they want. They're holding the gun.
Yeah. That's the definition of government.
Yeah.
But I mean, a limited hangout for anyone's information is a tactic that's used in used in the media in perception management. Oh, that's a good one, though, isn't it? Perception management. Why do we need to have a perception manager when we've got our senses? It's used in politics. It's actually used in espionage. Okay. And it's spy jargon for frequently. I'm looking at a quote from the CIA from Victor Marchetti. And he said he called a limited hangout a spy jargon for a favorite and frequently used gimmick of clandestine professionals when their veil of secrecy is shedded and they can no longer rely on phony cover stories to misinform the public. They resort to admitting or volunteering some of the truth, while still managing to withhold the key and damaging facts in the case.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes, it's like a carrot, dangling a carrot in front of you, and you think, oh, this is a truth, and it's not really, because it's just only the truth that they're prepared to let you know, but you think you're making headway. It's like a gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is another expression which is similar.
Similar.
They'll only let through what they want to let through, but they won't. All the really important stuff they'll still stop. But they seem like they're doing a good job because they're letting some stuff through.
Yeah.
I think this is very relevant to a lot of the so-called new or alternative media influences online. A lot of those are limited hangouts or gatekeepers. And they'll seem to be on your side, and they'll seem to be speaking, truth to power, if you like. But they're not really. They're still controlled when it comes down to the bottom line, and they're just giving the illusion. They're just trying to sort of funnel people away from what they don't really want you to see by giving you a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. Right, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I bring this back to Starmer? We can't, because there's so much I wanted to. There's so much in the news at the moment, but from Starmer, going on to the Lucy Connolly thing. Did you see that he was approached about it and sort of said, "Oh, I don't know anything about the case." And again, he's an ex-lawyer. I would have thought he knows everything about this case.
He's more than an ex-lawyer. He was director of private prosecutions, who it's alleged just let Jimmy Savile. There's not enough evidence that Jimmy was doing the things Jimmy did. No evidence there, nothing there. Limited hangout. Jimmy it was a bit naughty. He did an awful lot of things. I think he was around with Assange as well. Of course he knows about Lucy Connolly.
And of course he does. But I mean, it's very interesting that it was the same day as the Tommy Robinson thing, which he was out and then he's rearrested. But it's this show the public what's going on when you have those two cases next to each other. Again, people that aren't open to any of this are starting to ask questions, because Lucy Connolly is a far more someone that you can feel more sorry for than perhaps Tommy Robinson, bless his soul. But it's on the same day as him, and it's going to make people question what's going on here. This freedom of speech that's been taken away.
And the big thing about freedom of speech is it's all very well when people you oppose and dislike and are told to dislike, and when their freedom of speech is taken away. But if your freedom of speech is taken away, then it's squealing to the headmaster. But. So, we're getting a number of people, so-called liberals, don't know what they're called really, progressives, that kind of thing, who support the system and petition the system for things they want. When their speech is shut down, hang on, what? Because free speech is for everyone, not just for people you dislike. Yeah. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You might not like Tommy Robinson, you might not like Lucy Connolly, you might not like Julian Assange, or any people whose speech has been suppressed and, they've been basically punished for speaking. Lucy Connolly, you might not like her, you might not like what she said. It was ill-advised, that I've said before. But she said words.
I think Katie Hopkins summed it up the best. She said, I keep on seeing people in chat saying things like, what Lucy Connolly said was really bad, but she didn't deserve to go into prison. And she said, I'm fed up with that as a concept. I don't care what she said. There's no buts about it. She should be allowed to say whatever she wants. And unless she is directly attributed to doing something, she shouldn't be in prison. And I kind of agree with that. That's the point of free speech. We shouldn't look at that case with Lucy Connolly and say, oh, yeah, it was a bit dodgy. It wasn't. She said X, Y, and Z for all I care. That is obviously someone who's reached the end of their tether and is saying, you can fuck off for all I care. It's not saying fuck off.
No, quite.
Yeah, it's unconscionable the way she's been treated.
It's unconscionable. It's a key test. You don't have to like her. Although she seems a perfectly decent person to me, but there you go.
Well,
there was a picture of her next. Oh, gone.
Yeah, I was going to say nobody knew who the hell she was before all this. So it's kind of difficult not to either not like her or like her.
Yeah.
So as we find out more about it, I'm obviously starting to like her, but I don't dislike her at all.
So I mean, Lucy Connolly actually received more time in Pokey for this crime of so-called inciting racial hatred, and it was a longer sentence than some people receive for actually physically rioting in the Southport riots. And so saying despicable things are worse than doing.
Yeah, well, it's more than that. Sorry, Fordy. She got more time in prison than convicted paedophile Hugh Edwards and Labour MP Mike Amesbury, who physically assaulted one of his constituents on the street combined. Yeah. They didn't get any time, and those were actual physical criminal activities.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say the judge that put Connolly back in prison also the week prior let a convicted rapist go home for a suspended sentence, and he'd only actually done 21 shorter period of time in prison than Lucy Connolly at this point. So the same judge that put her back in prison the week previous let a pedophile out.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of bringing up Katie Hopkins again, she said just recently, it might have been today or yesterday, that they are, because they're releasing loads of criminals now. They're clearing out a lot of criminals, and it's probably because they're just preparing for more trouble this summer, so they can lock up more people for saying things they don't agree with on social media, or maybe coming out into the streets and protesting about things, and just locking them up.
Yeah.
I think it's that warning. I think she also said that it's more the warning. It's the Stasi in control saying, "Don't open your mouth because look at what we will do to you."
Yeah.
They've shown us with Tommy Robinson, and they're now showing the calmer mums, Lucy Connolly. They're trying to tell us all to shut our mouths, and as I've always said, that will only make me worse. So it won't work.
Not just you; it will make the whole situation worse. That's not going to stop people. It's going to have a chilling effect. People will obviously think twice. But I think it's long run, no way. That is, I mean, and they're idiots. They're absolute idiots to think that's really going to make this whole thing go away. It's not. It's going to make it worse. No two ways.
And remember, I think they're trying to force us into a civil war. And people, remember, don't let them win. Don't turn to violence. Like with all the aggressive stuff we say, we don't want violence. It'll be the worst thing for our country, for any country. It's stupid. So. Go as far as needs to be go. I wouldn't stop it, but let's not bother with violence, because that will just make them let them win, because it's getting so stupid. They must only want civil war. I can't think of a reason why they do the things they do.
It reminds me of a quote from Isaac Asimov. Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent, and I think that really is spot.
That's great.
I've
always been incompetent, so sod it.
Yeah, but
I think you've probably become more competent as you've grown older, Fordy.
No, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, but violence is not the answer, and we do not condone it in any way, shape, or form in this respect.
No, but everyone should know that now on episode 15.
And I'll tell you who else knows that this week, and that's a particular South African leader who was absolutely, I mean, you laugh, you know exactly what I'm saying, and I've never seen some people so uncomfortable in the Oval Office as those three people on that white sofa.
He ripped him a new arsehole, didn't he? He really did.
I was absolutely, I do love Trump. I'm a I tell everyone I love Trump, and that was another one of those moments where I just look at the man and I think he knows exactly. He's on the ball. He knows exactly what he's doing. Just turn the lights down. Wheel this TV out. Or do you just like to watch this, Mister? I want money from my country, and let's just see where you stand after this. And then it went on for about 4 minutes. It wasn't just a brief. It was everything that. People like you and I have seen some time ago, but that was a real kick in the head for them, and well done as well, Trump. Well done.
Well, I mean, I can't remember the guy's name, the president of South Africa, Cyril somebody.
Ramaphosa.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, what was he expecting, really? He's going to visit Trump. Trump has just given asylum to South African farmers for a possible genocide, and then the president is going there. What does he think Trump's gonna do? I mean, what was he thinking, really? You think he was just gonna breeze through a meeting with Trump and not have to deal with that particular thing?
I don't know. Again, I think sometimes I think to myself, it's because they've been getting away with it for so many decades. They just don't expect. All these world leaders, they've been working in the system and they just don't expect it to backfire. So to answer your question there, I don't think he did think that was going to happen. I think he just thought he was going there for his usual handout of cash from the Americans and had no concept that was going to come up.
Oh.
It's it is crazy, absolutely crazy. But Trump is opening the doors to all of these horrific things. Did you see the bit where he was showing them the crosses down the two sides of the road, and that road went on? It's sickening. I don't care what color your skin is, or what your religion is. To see that many crosses down a road and people showing their respect because of the genocide that's being done there it's appalling to think that we're supposed to be humans that have moved on from this bullshit.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know if genocide is that's a word which has been thrown around quite a lot recently. I'm hesitant to use that word. It's not necessarily a genocide in the truest sense of the word, but
so in fact, let's get technical. What does genocide actually means? It means removing an entire particular group of people, doesn't it?
Race, yeah. It's removing.
See, I'd say it is then,
because they're not going after every single white South African, though, are they? So in that term, it's not really a genocide.
Yeah, but fair enough. But the bit he showed to the leader was someone on stage saying the kinds of things that would relate to a genocide. Then
yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, I take that point, but I mean, he was saying basically kill the Boers, wasn't he? Kill the Boers.
Yeah.
Kill the Boers. Yeah, but words. It's only words. You know.
Fair one. Yeah, fair one.
So,
I think in a wider picture, okay, both black and white South Africans are facing an incredible. Just the murder rate is terrible. The crime rate is mental. So there's a lot of people in South Africa, but all sorts of the different tribes that make up that country. They're all facing bad stuff.
Yeah. It's very much like, South Africa has had trouble since it was it the Dutch that sort of went there and sort of made it what it was in Africa. But, we can't deny that the atrocities that were done to black people down there. And then
no, of course.
And then you have the apartheid, and then you have Nelson Mandela, and then you have today. So again, when I'm saying what's going on now, I'm by no means saying that from a point of view I can understand why the pendulum has swung the other way. And again, it's what I said before. It's the only point to make is that violence isn't the answer to any of this. All of you guys have got to sit together and realize that you've all done fucking terrible things to each other, and you've got to stop it. You can't.
You just got to stop it. You've got to make it better. You've got to make it better. Everyone in South Africa. I mean, the Boers have been there for about 400 years. They're an African tribe now. If they're not an African, if they're not an African tribe, then and if we don't universally say that because they've been there for a long time, they've become a particular tribal grouping which is recognised under South African law, then anyone who moves anywhere will never belong to the country in which they've moved.
That does raise a question, Viv. Just to be contrarian about this, what is the time frame for to become a particular, say in that example, how many years would it take for them to become an African tribe?
Yeah,
is there a cut-off
Yeah,
point?
interesting. Yeah,
and also maybe it's not about the length of time. Maybe there's other factors involved. What would those factors be? And it's quite a complex thing. That
the factors there are basically a bloodline that stretches back to a certain point that beyond time that we don't know. A lot of South Africa was like, for example, a number of people who moved, a number of different tribal groups who moved into South Africa. There are certain groups, like the Bushmen, who you could say were original South Africans. Are they original South Africans then? Do they have the right to say anyone else who comes here isn't South African? Was European concept of nationhood important to them? No, it wasn't. When the Zulu nation, the mighty Zulu nation, rose, and it was a formidable military power, as we know. Because they'd moved into the area relatively recently, in a sense. We're talking about something that's really weird. That's really weird to get your head around. We're talking about a bloodline that goes back beyond time. You can't even trace that beyond a certain point. The original autochthonous people. It doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water.
But it's an interesting question to ponder, in as much as this is where I couldn't join a far right group because of what I'm just about to say. That when I think about my country and what's being said about immigration and this, that, and the other, my idea is that, or my concept of what makes you English, is if your parents move here, and if the three of us had wives and we moved to South Africa. If all three of us have children and our children stay there and have children, I class them as they should be allowed to be called South Africans, because we made the choice to move country, so we're not South Africans. We're just doing it because we wanted to do it. But if our children decide to stay there and have children, now I decide, in my humble opinion, that there is a bloodline of that country. So when I talk about the immigration in my country, I don't think it's fair to just say to a granddad, mother and a child, and take those three generations and say, no, you don't belong here anymore. You were from another country, because that's not fair. They've lived here because they wanted to live here. So when we get to tribes and what classes, and 400 years the Boers have been there, what classes is a tribe or someone that says has the right to say I belong here? I think it's only 2 generations.
I would talk about culture.
Hmm.
I would talk about culture more than anything. The other day, I went out from work at lunch, and there was an old boy sitting there on a step. He was drinking beer, and he complimented on my shoes, and I went over to him. He's a black geezer, part of the, I suppose, the grandchild of the Windrush generation, who moved here in the late 40s into the 50s. And we got chatting, and he's really, I mean, he's got a proper Suffolk accent, as you'd expect. He's about 3rd, 4th generation. And he's going on about immigrants. He's going, oh, bro, you know what, boy? Oh, them bloody immigrants, right? Coming here, them Romanians. I don't know. And he's talking about voting reform. He's saying, he's saying, who do you vote for, mate? And I'm going, well, don't really vote, He goes, I'm voting for reform. I'm for reform. Yeah, and I'm thinking, but this is a black geezer. Who's, if you didn't see him, and if you spoke to him on the phone, you wouldn't know he's a black geezer. You wouldn't. You just think, nah. He's a British bloke. So
he's culturally British. He's culturally English or
he's
British.
totally culturally.
It just goes to show these things are cyclical now, because you might have had back in the 60s or 70s, it would be probably the indigenous white people complaining about immigration, but now it's moved on. Now the immigrants who came in those days have now settled here. They've become British or English or whatever, and they've had kids, and maybe even their kids have had kids, and now they're the ones complaining about immigration.
And it's very interesting. It's very interesting talking to this guy. I was thinking, I see. Okay.
There was there's an area of East London called Hackney, which is always been, as long as I've been alive, has always been quite heavily ethnically populated, and it's you know, it's East London. It's always been a bit run down. But more recently, certain areas of Hackney have started to become what they call gentrified, and you've had all of these middle class white hipsters moving in, and the people who have lived there for years, the black people, are now complaining about it. It's like all of these white people moving into our neighbourhoods. It's like, there goes the neighbourhood. You know?
No, it's hilarious. I lived in Hackney for a while, at Hackney and Dalston. I lived up there.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Dalston.
it was. Yeah, it's kind of. I just thought it was all right, actually. Weirdly enough, you know.
Once you get used to it. Yeah, I lived in Harlesden, which is a similar kind of area in northwest London. And it's got a bit of a bad reputation, bit of a rough area. And I lived there for a few years, and I never had any problems. And it's kind of like, once you get used to it, it's like you just kind of get used to it. And it's,
if you're scared of black people, you're not gonna like it. But I'm not scared of black people.
Yeah, and also, you know, you're more likely, almost always likely to find trouble if you go looking for it. You know.
Yeah.
If you go looking for it, you're very unlikely to find it, to be quite honest.
You see, the bourgeois whites that are moving into these areas, into black areas of London, I think there's a bit of racism in there, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we know that it really is these kind of middle class white liberals who have this who are probably they don't realize it, but they are probably more racist than anyone, because they try and all they want to do is to try and make themselves feel better about themselves. And so they try, all these poor ethnic minorities, we've got to do something to help them. And they're just belittling them. They're just putting themselves above them.
Yeah, of course they are. It's pretty disgusting, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah,
it's pretty nasty, you know. Treating black people like pets. You know, you know, it's just so terrible, the racism, and white saviors. They're called white saviors, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think I genuinely don't think you get as much racism when you get to the poorer parts of the country. And the reason being is, when you're at the bottom of the pile, you fight against the masters. Most of them don't care about colour, creed, race, religion. It's just your neighbours as a shittier place as you. And
you've got a common enemy. You've got
I mean, you just muck in together, don't you?
I mean, you know? back in the 90s, when I was, you know, sort of out and about and having fun, people used to just kind of get along for the most part. It's only since since the turn of the century that racism and the whole subject of racism has turned really bitter and sour.
And it's the influence of American. It's basically the influence of American identitarian politics, in my opinion.
That's exactly what it is. It's identitarian, but yeah, exactly. And it's just made it worse. It's like this whole anti-racism movement has just made things worse. It really has. It's just really it's really crystallized the differences between people that before people were just getting over and not really worrying and noticing things like that. They were just getting on for the most part.
Yeah, but the masters use this as a way of social control. Divide and rule is one of the first things you use. And secondly, the American situation is very different to the situation we have in the UK. We didn't import slaves to this country. Oh, people go, oh no, but we did. No. If you came here as a black man, as an African free slave, you got to British soil, you were free. You know, and you know, this is very, very different. Very, very different. Yes, of course, we were slave traders. Of course, the British state, not the British people, the British state employed colonialism, and they imported, exported slaves to America and the Caribbean. Yes, we know that. It's on the historical record. But it's different in this country. It's different in other European countries, such as France. You can't. Critical race theory is an American thing. It doesn't belong in this country.
Yeah,
No,
I don't think,
yeah,
I don't think it, I don't think it belongs in America either. To be honest with you,
No, I don't. But, I mean, when we were in school, we were taught that we were taught about Martin Luther King, about his idea that the content of your character is more important than the color of your skin, and we took that in. Now, the color of your skin is more important than the content of your character. So, you're a black man, a black woman is always a victim, always a victim. And it's got this because the cultural morality has changed from honor and from the idea of honor and dignity to that of the victim. So the victim is really the highest moral paradigm, and if you have a larger level of melanin in your skin, you're just naturally a victim. But that also means you're a child, and that also means that there's going to be a savior, and that also means that the bourgeois folk who do take over black areas, and let's not face it, let's not mince words. They do this. Have you been to Notting Hill? Oh, it's white. It's white now. It used to be a black area.
Yeah. Certain parts of Notting Hill used to be very run down, but now it's a very, very expensive, very exclusive area. Notting Hill. Very pop. Yeah.
Yep, it is. So in part, and this leads into the problem of the Labour Party. The Labour Party used to be a party of class. They were for the working people, all working people. Okay. Now they've taken on the American ideas of identitarian politics, and they've lost their way. They've completely lost their way. The idea of a class-based party was to raise the standards of the working class. Yeah. The living standards.
It comes back to culture again, as we've said. If you're all in the same culture, you'll all get on a lot better. You're sure you won't like people and you'll dislike people and stuff, but you won't hate people and you won't be frightened of someone because you all are under the same banner. And this is where we've lost our culture. We've lost what it is to be English, what it is to be British. And all these rules that have changed. I noticed we've come to our time to stop. We didn't do any comedy. We didn't. There was so much to talk about. Yeah, no. There was so much to talk about, and we didn't even get through the stuff I wanted to talk about. But
I know.
Before we wrap up, can I just
go.
add something quickly to that? I think Dr. David Starkey said something he put it in a very good way. He said, we used to be a high trust society where everybody trusted for the most part everybody else, and everybody got on. People trusted the authorities, and now we've become a low trust society. And part of the reason is because we've been importing so many people from low trust societies, and it's now starting to take over. So we've lost that trust in everything, everybody, and everything around us now.
Yeah.
And it's just showing in the decline. So,
and it's deliberate. I believe it's deliberate.
Yes. Should we do a quick mascot check?
Mascot check.
Yeah, just to get the name, in.
Oh, there. Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria Wood. Victoria Wood.
Victoria Wood. Oh,
Victoria Wood. Yes.
I was in a daze then. I thought you wanted to talk about Norman Wisdom. I literally had lost about 4 weeks of life then. Yeah, sorry, Victoria Wood.
Yes, comedienne extraordinaire.
I'm kind of, this has worked out really well because last week I said to you, I'll look up and I'll have loads to talk about Victoria Wood. I'll be honest with you, I've had such a week looking into Trump and Starmer that I didn't do a damn bit of research into Victoria Wood, so I wouldn't have had that much to talk about her anyway.
Okay, for those who are not aware, Victoria Wood, she sadly passed away now, but She was a kind of a comedian. I think she originally started in stand up, and then she ended up having her own TV show. When would that be? In the 90s, something like that.
Yeah.
Really talented. She was funny. She played piano. She sang. She wrote comedy songs. Really clever. Very witty. Very witty. And one thing I particularly liked about her shows was she had like this kind of a little spoof show within her show called Acorn Antiques, and it was a piss take of a really cheap, crappy soap opera based in this antique shop, and it is hilarious. Everything is really crap, like intentionally, funnily crap in it. And for me, the one thing about Victoria Wood as well, also she worked quite a lot with Julie Walters, who I thought was fantastic. Julie Walters,
terrific, terrific.
And she played Mrs. Overall in Acorn Antiques, and she's this sort of doddering old woman in an apron who would make the tea and always fluff her lines and everything. It was she was great.
Those two together, I think those two together were just comic genius coming together. My favourite is Dinner Ladies. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah.
And that sums up to me again. It's very British sort of comedy. That it's Julie Walters plays an absolute brilliant part in that. But Victoria Wood as well just plays an absolutely brilliant part. And I love them two coming together for writing. They really know how to. Weren't they really, really good friends in real life as well?
I think they must have been. Yeah. I mean, Julie Walters was another exceptional talent. She was a great actress. She did a few films. She was in Educating Rita with Michael Caine, and she did a few others as well. She was excellent. She was really good. So yeah, the two of them together were dynamite.
I mean, bless her heart. When she got the diagnosis of cancer, not that long ago, really, she kept her illness private. She wasn't going, oh, poor me. Yeah. You know, she just was. She had dignity, real dignity. You know.
Yeah, I've got I'll save it for next week. But I did actually meet Victoria Wood once, but I won't go into it now.
Oh, really?
I'll have to keep you in suspense till next week. But,
I don't know if it's right to call her a weird crush, but I had one of my weird crushes on her. I don't know what it was about her. I just really fancied her. I think it was the comedy. I think that's what I was attracted to with her. But I had a crush on Victoria Wood, so I would have loved to have met her.
I get that. I get that. It's like it kind of intelligent, witty, funny women can be really attractive as well, no matter even if they're not the most sort of drop dead gorgeous to look at. So yeah,
she was a Taurus. Yeah. She was a Taurus, and I'm a Taurus, and they can be quite fiery. But she is 19th of May, 1953. She was born. So
when did she die? What year did she die?
Oh, recently. Recently.
It was 2016. Yeah, not that long ago.
Right.
Bless her. Yeah. I mean, going back to the attraction of women, and women are, well, of course, we're hetero, we're hets, aren't we? I do love women, but what I like most about women is what I like about men. Actually, is their character.
Yeah, I think it is. It should boil down to that, really. Obviously, as a male, I am very visually stimulated, shall we say? But no, I think most attraction is really the substance of someone.
Well, that's the thing. That's the lasting trait, isn't it? That's the thing which lasts in a relationship is the character.
Exactly.
More
exactly.
That's a really important quality about someone, because that's like you say, that's the substance. It's
I didn't have a concept of that when I was 21, though, mate.
No, but you don't. Yeah, no,
you don't. No, of course you don't.
Yeah. Okay, if I knew now, as they always say, if I knew then what I know now, I would have had a much better life. Much different life.
Yeah. To add to that, the youth is wasted on the young, isn't it?
Yeah, another good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. To end, then. All right. To end. A few jokes from Victoria Wood. I mean, some of these are just so good. A man is designed to walk 3 miles in the rain to phone for help when the car breaks down. A woman is designed to say, "You took your bloody time," when he comes home tripping.
Yeah. Ain't that the painful truth?
But it is, isn't it? I once went to one of those parties where everyone throws their car keys into the middle of the room. I don't know who got my moped, but I've been driving that Peugeot for years. Foreplay is like
talking about parties. Sorry, talking about parties.
Yeah.
I only found out recently that when you get an invite to a wedding, when you RSVPing back, it's probably not the right response to say maybe next time.
Oh, is that one of her jokes?
Yeah.
That's good. That's very, very good.
This is not a Victoria Wood joke, but here you go. A bouncer once told me to leave. I said, why? He said, because I don't know who you are, and it's my trampoline.
Nice.
Foreplay is like beef burgers. 2 minutes on each side.
Ham and eggs. Day's work for a chicken, lifetime commitment for a pig.
Oh.
I once hired a handyman to do 5 jobs for me, but he only did jobs 1, 3, and 5. Turns out he only does odd jobs.
Oh, these are new ones.
Oh yeah. Why can't dinosaurs clap their hands?
Go on.
Because they're extinct.
Oh dear. Yeah. Oh dear, it's got to
Hey, it's dad jokes. So don't shoot the messenger, mate.
Oh dear.
On that appalling note, I think I'm going to say good night then.
Yeah, good idea. Was that another dad joke?
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Yeah. Cheers for tonight. There was loads to chat about, and I'm sure there will be loads to chat about next week as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And we will never, be assured, listeners, however many or how few you are, we will never run out of topics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about paint drying if it comes to that. Don't you worry about it.
And it'll still be interesting. That's the great thing.
Well, hey, don't.
All right, yeah.
Careful now. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
One thing, 4D, can you please get a spell checker when you're putting text in the videos?
I'll do my good evening, gentlemen stuff, and we'll crack on then.
Yeah, let's do it.